So, as we're having this discussion about elders in the Black diaspora and the different myriad ways that they fail us, one common thread that I'm seeing in some of the comments is asking, well, are people really entitled to our support? Are members of our family, members of our community entitled to our support? If we're already struggling ourselves, why do we need to spread ourselves thin, helping others who can't help themselves? And while this would otherwise be a valid criticism when it comes to like helping people who clearly don't want to be helped, people who repeatedly make errors or make horrible mistakes or make really bad life decisions, that criticism doesn't apply here. And why doesn't it apply here? Because these elders in these environments and in these communities, we watch and observe them help other people and then pick and choose whom they don't want to provide resources and support to. So it's not that they're spreading themselves thin. It's not that they, again, don't have access to the resources that we're asking them to make widely available. They provide those resources for others with no questions asked. But a particular person, a woman or a child or someone who's trying to do something worthwhile in that community comes and asks for that same resource. And then it's excuses. Then it's, oh, well, I don't want to spread myself thin, or I don't want to impoverish myself helping you. That's not what we're talking about here. The criticism is elders who have access to these resources, who have possession and control of these resources, who deliberately withhold them from vulnerable members of their environment, their community, their families, and their network. And then in the same breath will give those resources to others who either don't need them or who will squander them because they just make poor life decisions. And yes, I come with examples. I come with receipts every single time. So using my own Jamaican family as an example, circa 2018, 2019, I moved back home to Detroit to live with my mom. My sister, who was like 16 at the time, we both had to go start waiting tables together while I was a full-time law school student and she was in high school, and we were each both working full-time on top of being students, and my mom was struggling to find work. We were driving this year 2000 model beat up like old vintage Range Rover with almost 200,000 miles on it, no heat, no AC, and we were struggling to save up money to purchase a new, safer, more fuel efficient car. Again, I have lots of family who live in the area, and as I've mentioned before, I have a large extended family who are practically in every state in the union. But you never would have known that. You never would have known that. The way that my mom, my sister, and I were struggling, like we lived off of tuna sandwiches and instant oatmeal. This is around the time 2018, 2019, when inflation kind of started to pick up just a little with the price of gas and the cost of housing. That's when we started to see that uptick in the cost of living. And it was just my mom, my sister, and I, and it felt like sometimes it was just the three of us alone in this great, big, bad world. We had no one to call. We had no one to rely on. Like, my grandma had just passed and left my mom her house, and it was just us, right? Just fighting to survive. So we survived and overcame that and came through that by the grace of God and by the grace of all things good and pure. Only to find out after the fact that one of my mom's siblings had an old beater car sitting in his garage that was paid off, that he didn't have to use because he and his wife each had their own vehicles. And he gifted that car to one of my mom's other siblings, knowing that my mom was the one who needed it more, and knowing that my mom had my sister and I, who were waiting tables, to live off of tips. He gifted that car to someone else who had the means and was already not struggling themselves, right? She was employed, she had her own home, she was college educated. She wasn't struggling herself, and neither were her children, because they just weren't. That's just where they were in life. He gifted that car to them and walked right past my mom, my sister, and I. Like, we were just left alone to figure it out on our own. Other examples include like when I matriculated to college, and then when my sister graduated from high school and matriculated to college, we didn't even receive congratulation text messages, much less like gifts or donations. No one hosted like an open house party for us to raise community resources, like, buying a computer for school, buying any school supplies, contributing to purchase of textbooks. When my sister moved into her dorm, it was just my mom and I and maybe some of my sister's friends who had to help move her furniture. And it was my mom and I and my sister who had to work and save up to buy everything that she needed. Same thing when she had to move into her apartment. It was my mom, my sister, and I, plus my couple of my sister's close friends, moving her furniture, buying everything she needed for her apartment. It was us working and saving up to do that, as though we had no family members. It's as though we're alone in this world with no resources, with no one to call on. And that's not the case. We have a lot of family members right here in our area, in addition to the ones that we have throughout the country. And you will watch, you will be living through these things and fighting to survive and fighting to make your own way. And you will sit there and watch on social media, and through word of mouth and through what you hear in your own network. You'll watch these same people help one another with moving. They'll help one another with anything that they need, transporting kids to and from school. If someone needs help paying a bill, if someone needs help buying some groceries or buying gas for the week, or if someone's kid needs some new clothes, new school uniforms, you watch them help other members in your environment, other members in your family and in your community, and walk right past you. You watch them help other members in your environment and your community who make habitually poor decisions with regards to having a substance use disorder, with regards to being alcoholics, with regards to being violent, with regards to being unemployed on purpose, right? You'll watch them uplift those community members. And then when you ask for it or when you request it, it's, well, you're not going to bleed me dry. You can figure it out. What do you need my help for? Go learn and go struggle like I had to. They're so dismissive of you while they're not dismissive of other members. So it's like they cherry pick, knowing that they have the ability to help you and knowing that they have access to the resources that can help you while in the same breath telling you to go kick rocks is extremely painful. And then watching them help other people in your environment with those same resources, that will radicalize you. It will send you into depression and then it will radicalize you afterwards. And our elders just refuse to acknowledge that this ongoing cycle, all it does is repeats the same trauma generation after generation. It breeds resentment. It breeds bitterness. It breeds hyper independence. It breeds emotional fallout from, like, my mom, my sister, and I. We are very close, kind of still, but like we still have fallout from that trauma. Like we struggle to like build certain interpersonal connections because we're so accustomed to being left and abandoned to figure it out. We struggle to be vulnerable in our interpersonal connections with friends and even sometimes romantic partners. I know that in my case especially. So like when I hear the criticisms of like, well, why should I help anyone else? And you all like to use family members as meal tickets and whatnot. You all only say that when it's certain people who are asking for the help. Because if it's a worthless, loser, bummy man just coming out of jail and he's violent and an alcoholic and unemployed, then he gets all the help and support he needs. It's the system he's fighting against. So he needs our uplifting. He needs our encouragement. He needs our money. But anyone else who needs those same resources, someone going to college, someone pursuing a trade, someone starting a business, someone starting a nonprofit, someone who just lost their job and who's trying to look for work, someone, a woman who's leaving a violent relationship with her children and she needs housing and the children need housing. No, go figure it out. You're on your own. You can make it through. I'll pray for you. I'll pray with you, but I'm not actually going to do anything to help you because you're not going to bleed me dry and you're not going to spread me thin. So like they cherry pick who they want to help. And like I've said in my previous video, they uplift and help the worst of the worst in our communities and leave the actual vulnerable individuals to rot. They leave them out to pasture. And this all just goes to show that our elders in the Black diaspora, again, have no actual vested interest in building generational wealth, generational stability, generational anything for us. They leave us to figure it out. They think that we deserve to struggle like they had to struggle. They're secretly jealous of the opportunities that we have access to that they didn't have access to. And they would rather uplift and materially support the worst people in their communities who are either actual poor decision makers or who are loser, violent men. They will uplift and support those people and leave everyone else to rot and then turn around and ask, why don't we have any money in our communities? Why don't we have any resources in our communities? Look within. Look within for that answer.